Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 100 of the Dear Herbalist podcast. It is the 100th episode, y'all. I am so excited. Let's get some hand claps for that. I am so excited to have you here with me this evening to celebrate my 100th episode. Now, with this episode, I wanted to create a question and answer kind of format. So I've gathered questions that you all have sent to me via social media, and I've also added in some common questions that I often get. So I'm going to answer those tonight. I'm going to reflect a little bit on where this podcast has been, and I'm also going to talk about the future of the Dear Herbalist podcast and the direction that we are going in the year ahead. So I won't keep you long tonight. I know it's New Year's Eve, but I definitely wanted to get this out before the new year comes. I've really enjoyed talking with you guys, hearing your unique stories, sharing your perspectives on this love we share of plant medicine. And I want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you from all over the world, and I am truly blessed to have gotten this far. 2024 has been a very interesting year for all of us, I'm sure. So I'm going to take a few minutes to reflect on this past year's episodes. And my thought process with each one of them is I wanted to be as informative but as real as possible. I wanted to highlight all the aspects of herbal medicine while providing value to my listeners. And one of the best things that has happened to me is being able to communicate with each one of you, my listeners. Hearing your unique stories and sharing your perspective on this love we share of plant medicine has really, truly blessed my life. Everyone has a unique perspective. And as I said before with this podcast, I wanted to create a community of people, a community of mutual respect, where we can talk about our issues or things that we go through and deal with as herbalists in this world. And it be, in a good, wholesome setting, And I believe that I'm accomplishing that. I add an ing on the end of that because it's continuing. But I believe that I'm accomplishing that. So I'm very, very excited for where we have all gotten this far. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. When I first started, I had a steep learning curve because I didn't know a thing about podcasting or editing. I just knew that I had a message and I wanted to share it. I knew I had something to share, but it was a huge learning curve. I had to research. I had to learn. I made mistakes and then I tried it all again. So it's definitely been a roller coaster ride in this podcast world, but I would not have changed it for anything because I've learned so much. With each challenge I faced, with each mistake that I made, I learned something new, not only about this world of podcasting and editing, but also about myself. And I said that I was going to do it, and I jumped out there with both feet and I did it. So I'm definitely proud of myself for where I've gotten thus far. Now, was I nervous? Absolutely. But I believed in myself, and I was serious when I told my fellow herbalists that the time is now, because I really do believe that our time is now. So that kept me going. So if you are out there and you are considering doing a podcast, let me take 2 seconds to tell you, go ahead on and do it. Your first podcast may sound crazy. It may not be edited perfectly, but just jump out there and do it and learn along the way. Because I feel like people appreciate more of what's real than what's polished all the time. Everything is not always polished. I'm sure when I first started, I probably said 1,000 times. Or I said okay 1,000 times. But, it was just, again, it's just learning how to communicate effectively on podcast land so people can hear you, understand you, get where you're coming from, catch your vibe, all of that at once, while not getting on their nerves. But you just have to do it. Like I said, it's a journey. It really, really, truly is. And I have enjoyed it thoroughly. Like I said before, my goal is to create a community, a place of mutual respect and information. And so I appreciate when you guys share your information with me, social media, and you make comments on my posts and all this other stuff. I appreciate that because it does help people learn from you as well. because we all have something that we can share. You can learn from me, I can learn from you. So let's keep this sense of community going forward. And thank you so much for listening to the past now 100th episode. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you all for the next 100. So, like I said before, I wanted to do kind of like a question and answer for this particular podcast. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do in the beginning for my 100th episode, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to dive into it. I'm a perfectionist and I thrive on that, but I have to stop at some point and just say, listen, just do it. You don't have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't matter. Just do it. So I said, let's do a question and answer. I reached out to you guys on social media and said, hey, shoot me some questions that you would like me to answer on this 100th episode celebration. And you did just that. And I appreciate you for doing that. So let's dive into some of these questions. And they're in no particular order. I didn't want to try to make it all fancy and stuff. I just wanted to put the questions in there and then answer them. So, number one, how has your understanding of the human body changed since diving into herbalism? And I thought this was a very great question. Since diving into herbal medicine, my understanding has grown a lot. When I first started out, I just focused on the anatomy parts of the human body. And then over time, as I began to study more, I really dived into the physiology, which is how the body actually functions. And so diving deeper into not only what makes up the human body, but also how it actually works. And I can tell you, from these studies of the human body and diving in deeper, that I've actually grown a closer relationship with the Most High as a result of this, because it's like only He could have come up with such a beautiful design. Only He could have organized everything, and everything has a purpose and everything has its place. And I was just in awe of the human body. And I've only touched the tip of the iceberg. I haven't even, I know that I haven't even dug even deeper than that, because you can't know everything, right? And it's just a beautiful design. I had to learn how to study the human body, and also by learning that, understanding how organized that it truly is. So that's how it's changed over time as I began to dive deeper into how the body actually functions and how it works. All right. What inspired you to start your journey into herbal medicines? Question number 2. My grandfather piqued my interest in herbal medicine. I always say that he planted the seed. He would always make some kind of concoction with ginger or other spices when we would get sick. And so I would just sit and watch him. And I remember being a little girl, just looking at him mix up all kind of stuff. And he's like, drink it down, take it down fast. And I was like, ah. But I was fascinated with it. And I was fascinated with him. I love my grandfather dearly. And so that kind of put the seed on the inside of me for a love of plants and herbal medicine and that type of thing. Now, fast forward, when my son was born, he had issues with eczema, allergies, and he also had stomach issues. And because at the time I didn't have a solid knowledge in herbal medicine, I would just listen to whatever the doctor said. And they put him on a cycle of antibiotics and different creams and different medicines. And one time he got an infection from his eczema that caused him to be hospitalized for several days. When we took him to the emergency room, it looked like the sores were progressing, pretty quickly. So they ended up hospitalizing him. And the doctors thought that he might be contagious. So they put him into the inside of this plastic bubble. Now, mind you, he was young, like under 2 during this time. And he was, in the bed, but then over the bed, they kind of put him in this little plastic bubble. And anyone who came in, they asked that they would put on this suit that kind of looked like a hazmat suit to me. And so, of course, my son at that time being so young, you can imagine he was scared. He was looking like, what the heck are these people doing? He probably thought they were some kind of Martians or something like that. But as a mother at the time, I felt helpless. I sat there as the doctors came in and out of the hospital room, talking over his head, talking over our heads. And I can imagine in my son's mind, he was probably like, what in the world? Like, this is scary. Mommy, what's going on? I don't feel good. So yeah, it was a scary time. And my husband and I, we went against the doctor's orders. We didn't wear the hazmat suit because we didn't want to scare our son any further. At the end of the day, it's like, he needs to see mommy and daddy's face. He needs to see our eyes. He needs to see smiles and reassuring faces. And I did not want to do that behind a mask. Okay. Don't judge me. Each day the doctors would gather outside our hospital room and start their morning discussion. And it was almost like we weren't even standing there. They'd say, oh, come on out, to the round table or whatever. And we're standing there, but it was like, we're not, they would discuss what it could be, which medicine to try next. It felt like to me that they were rolling the dice each time. It was something that they couldn't figure out. They didn't really understand what it was. And I knew at that point, I said something had to change. So soon after my son got out of the hospital, we would follow up with his doctor only to be referred to this one, that one, and a third to try to figure out what was going on. And it was at this moment I was tired of my son being a test subject, and I was not going to allow it anymore. I was like, I'm done. He's not seemingly getting better. What the world is going on? This doesn't make sense. And I don't want to keep drugging him up and all of this stuff. So I began to do a lot of research on herbs that would help him. I researched the causes of eczema, the causes of the stomach issues he was dealing with. And I was infuriated to find out how the long-term use of antibiotics can actually destroy your gut flora, the good stuff, the good bacteria. So I said, you know what? I need to put together a plan for him. At the time, I didn't call it a protocol. I didn't know what to call it, but I just said, I'm going to put together a plan. I started to change his diet. I worked to rebuild his gut flora. I used natural remedies to soothe and heal his eczema. And I am happy to say that today I have a healthy, strong preteen. Yes, preteen, y'all. He was the driving force, and little did I know that he would be the one of my children to jolt me on my path of herbal medicine. And since then I have moved forward and I have not looked back. I didn't want that feeling of helplessness to be spread throughout the earth. It's like if I as a mother can learn and study and research to help my child, then I can speak to other mothers or even fathers that have those periods of helplessness when it comes to trying to navigate with the medical community or trying to navigate issues that our children are dealing with. And so it was really empowering for me to do the research and to study and to take my son's health into my hands and to do everything that I could, no matter what, to help him and to see him through. And with the grace of the Most High, he's here. He's thriving. So I'm grateful and I'm blessed and I'm more determined now and passionate about staying on this field and staying where I'm at so that I can teach people how to do it and how to make herbal medicine, the knowledge of it, accessible. You don't have to have $5,000 in the bank. You don't have to have $2 in the bank. You should be able to know how to take whatever plants that the Most High has given us on this earth and be able to use it to help bring balance and restoration to not only your health, but to your family's health. It should be accessible to everyone, not to use to pervert or to do some kind of craziness, but to actually bring restoration and healing to the body. So that is that is my short / long story on what really inspired me on my journey. All right. What is one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you first started working with herbs? Let's see. When I first started working with herbs, I was so focused on actually what an herb does. So its actions like being anti-inflammatory or being a nervine or adaptogenic. I wasn't really focused on why it works. I actually overlooked that. And so I started looking into the phytochemicals within the plant because they are the key to understanding what it really can do. So for example, I was really just looking at the fact that turmeric is anti-inflammatory, but I didn't take in consideration it was because of the curcumin. right? Or the fact that peppermint is, it provides a lot of digestive support, but that's really due to its menthol. So it's kind of like I said before with the human body, I had to dig a little deeper. And knowing this, it's helped me choose the right preparation method. It helped me to understand the different synergies between the herbs. And then it helped me to better anticipate the potential interactions or even the contraindications of the herbs. So if I could go back, I would tell myself, learn the chemistry behind the herb. It will guide my hands and help deepen my formulation. So that's one of the pieces of advice I wish someone would have given me when I first started working. Which 3 herbs do I consider essential for a beginner's home herbal medicine cabinet? So if I could choose 3, and it's hard to choose 3, but if I could choose 3, I would say oregano, frankincense, and tea tree oil. Because these oils can be used, they're very strong, and they can be used for a variety of conditions. So I would use multi-use oils. So if I said you had to have these absolute 3, which would be rough, but if that's what I have to say, I would say oregano oil, frankincense, and tea tree oil. With oregano oil, the benefits of that are that it's a powerful antimicrobial and antifungal herb. It also supports your immune system. It acts as an anti-inflammatory agent, and it's really rich in antioxidants. And you can use it for skin infections or fungal issues. You can use it for respiratory support, boosting your immune system. I mean, this is definitely a multi-use herb. Frankincense, not only do I love the smell of frankincense, but it's also known for its anti-inflammatory and pain relief properties. It promotes skin health, supports emotional well-being and stress relief, and it also can help with your respiratory health. And you can use it for a variety of different conditions. You can diffuse it for a calming aromatherapy. You can use it for anti-aging. You can also use it for pain relief, relaxation. You can use it for healing wounds. I mean, it's just one of those herbs that, first of all, it's in the Bible, but it's also one of those herbs that is multi-use. And then tea tree oil, I mean, there's, what can we say? I mean, it's powerful antiseptic, it's antimicrobial. You can use it for fungal infections, acne, insect bites. If you have any issues with your scalp and hair, if you have issues with acne, dandruff, you can also use it in cleaning products. So those 3, I would say, if you had to have any, those 3 would be it, because they're very versatile and they're definitely a must-have in any natural remedy toolkit. Alrighty. What advice would you give someone interested in pursuing a career in herbal medicine? So the advice that I would give someone, I would say research the different career fields that herbalists can be a part of, and then go from there. Determine your path from there. What skill set do you have that would best fit with that particular field up under herbal medicine? What type of qualities do you have? Natural gifts and talents do you have that would fit in that particular slot in herbal medicine? And once you have determined, and there's many, I do have on my YouTube channel a video that talks about the various career paths of herbalists. So you can check it out there, but there's many different career paths that you can look at. So once you've determined your career path, then study to know what that path requires. So for example, if you want to be a clinical herbalist, determine what subjects are necessary to learn and to know, and then go learn them. Now, I am a huge proponent of self-study because I believe that it allows you to learn what you want to learn, what you need to learn, dive deeper in subjects that may be kind of glossed over in certain herbal schools. So it kind of allows you to dive a little bit deeper. However, if you do want to attend an herbal program, herbal certificate program, herbal school, all of that is fine as well. Just know that to be an herbalist in the United States, it's not required. So don't feel like you have to get any type of certification or anything like that. Really, when people get those things, it's for the consumers, so that the consumer can believe you when you say, I know what I'm talking about. That's kind of the society we're in now. Whereas back in the day, it was word of mouth. It was the proof was in the pudding. Did you help so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so? They said you did. I'm coming so I can get some help. You know what I mean? Things like that. So do what works best for you. But let's say you don't have the money and you cannot afford the programs that are out there. That is no excuse not to study. There's a lot of resources out there that can help you know everything that you need to know to do your job and to do it well. Also, there's a lot of lectures and things like that online and YouTube that are free, where you can learn a lot of these topics, especially when it comes to the human body and all of that. A lot of medical schools, their professors also have online lectures and things like that on YouTube. So there's really no excuse, I should say, to not know what you need to know, depending on which career field that you pick. And just because you don't have to be certified or there's no licensing board in the United States for herbalists, that doesn't lessen your responsibility that you have to make sure that you study and know what you need to know in order to successfully carry out your job. Next question. How do you ensure the quality and sustainability of the herbs that you use and recommend? Well, there's a couple of different things that I do. If I'm foraging for my plants, I make sure that I'm getting them when they are at their peak, when their chemical properties are at their peak. So I pick them in the right season at the right time. Now, and that's important because the timing does affect the potency as well. The next thing I do is I make sure that I dry them properly and store them properly. I look at the color, the smell, the texture, because vibrant colors and strong aroma often indicate freshness. All right. When it comes to ethical wildcrafting, which is important, you never harvest more than 1/3 of a wild plant population to allow it to be able to regrow. I take that into consideration. I grow not all, but I do grow some of my own herbs, which helps me to know exactly where they're coming from, how they're grown. Now, if I have to source them from trusted suppliers, that is exactly what I'm looking for. Are they organic? What are their harvesting practices? Are they reputable? Do they prioritize organic, wildcrafted? Are they ethically farmed herbs? Are they made in a lab? All these things you have to take into consideration. And that's what I do when I do my best to follow these steps in order to know if I've sourced the herbs appropriately. All right. What books do you recommend for someone who is starting their herbal medicine journey? Now, on my YouTube channel, I have a video called How to Set Up Your Herbalist Library. And this is a helpful guide on organizing your personal herbal library, as well as the resources to include as you begin your herbal medicine journey. Now, because I talk a lot about specialization and determining what type of herbalist you want to be, I guide you in terms of the specific topics you need to know, but also as well as the resources and books that I recommend for that particular category of herbalist. So check that video out, How to Set Up Your Herbalist Library, on my YouTube video, The Demystified Herbalist. Some websites that you can explore. I'm going to give you two of them that I use very frequently. One is PubMed, and it's a great resource for finding research studies on herbs as well as their effects on the human body, and they're perfect for evidence-based insights. Number two is archive.org. It's one of my favorites because it offers free access to books dating from the 1800s to present. And I particularly enjoy exploring older herbal medicine books as well as anatomy books, as I often find that they explain things in a simpler and more accessible way. So those two I use the most. How do you stay motivated? Next question. How do you stay motivated and inspired in your herbal studies, especially during tough times? One of the ways that I stay motivated is to first understand that I'm right exactly where I'm supposed to be. I believe 120% that I am doing what I was put on this earth for. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that it doesn't go without challenges, especially when you're doing the greater good in the earth. It's going to come with challenges. So I keep that in mind, that I am on the right path. So that's first of all. Second of all is that I love to study. I love to research, the human body, the plant body. I tend to get bored with routine things. So with herbal medicine, I'm never bored because it's always something new to learn. It's always something, that keeps my fire sparked for herbal medicine. And another thing that keeps me motivated and inspired is just seeing my impact, the impact of what I've been able to do with my remedies, the advice that I've been able to give, to see that how that's helped people. I've been blessed to know that, and to see that it really helps me to know and understand that I'm needed and I'm necessary. So that's what keeps me motivated. Even during the tough times, I think about the stories that my clients have given me. I think about the stories that my listeners have sent to me. And it really has inspired me to know that, no matter what, you just got to keep going, because you are helping people. You are being effective along the way, even if it may not seem like it, or even if it may seem you starting off small. Just know that you're making the impact. And that's the overall goal, is to make the impact. So that's how I stay motivated. Just staying focused on that. Praying also, staying connected with the Most High and getting encouragement from Him along the way, and just moving forward. That's what I do. Just keep my feet moving forward. This one I thought was a really good one. It says, can you walk us through your process for researching a new herb before incorporating it into a remedy? So my process is, first of all, I identify, what am I using this for? So is it for a specific health concern, or is it, to address inflammation, digestion? Like, what am I using this for? Because this is what the goal of, I need to look at that herb actions, but I'm not going to go that far yet. So one, I define the specific health concern, and I also determine if this herb will align with that. So I look at the actions of the herbs and the phytochemicals of the herbs and all these other things. So will this herb align with the intended outcome, whether it's to reduce inflammation, to boost digestion, to reduce stress? Will this herb help with that? The next thing I do is I look at its historical and traditional use. So I like to look at that to see how, let's say traditional Chinese medicine may have used it, Ayurveda. I also look at and see how my ancestors would have used it, or even Western herbalism. What were some of the traditional uses of this particular plant? And how did they prepare it? How did they apply it? I look at that. Number 3, I look at the research. So I look at some of the scientific, were there clinical trials done on this? Are there scientific papers that are specific to this herb? And I tend to focus on the active compounds, the known mechanisms of action, as well as the pharmacological effects of the plant. Okay, those are the things that I look at. Next, I have to look at the safety and any type of potential side effects that may happen, any herb-drug interactions. Is there safety guidelines? For example, if I'm trying to formulate something for someone who's pregnant, or if it's a child, or if it's a senior, or do they have pre-existing conditions? So with the herb, I have to understand the safety and the contraindications of those herbs. Next, I look at the dosage guideline of the plant. So what is the common therapeutic doses for each herb? If it's in a tincture form, if it's in a tea form, if it's in a capsule form, should I use this herb for short term or long term? I take all of those things into consideration. And then I also look at how to prepare. So once I determine, okay, this is an herb that I definitely want to use for this particular issue, then I need to know about the best way to extract the phytochemicals and the properties out of the particular plant. So is it best used as a tea, a tincture, an oil infusion? What is the best way that I can extract the medicinal properties from this particular plant? And which part of the plant should I extract these properties from? The roots, the leaves, the flowers? Which part of the plant, I should say, are the most effective? So that is my process. Alrighty. What has been the most frustrating part of your herbal medicine journey? How much time you got? Let's see. I would say having your intelligence challenged. I'm not talking about the people that are asking questions because they genuinely don't know. I'm more so talking about the people who look at you and their line of questioning is more like, how can you know this information? How is it that you know this? So I've gotten that quite a bit, quite a few times actually. But these are the same people that blindly follow the advice of others without doing any research, you know? And because I'm not an arrogant person, of course, I do answer their questions humbly. But in the back of my mind, it does get on my nerves because I know the intent. I always look at the intent behind the question. And it can be frustrating sometimes. And then just to give you one more, actually maybe two more, people that are not 100% honest about what they're doing to contribute to their declining health or whatever issue that they may be facing. So you could be making recommendations based on false or missing information, and then they'll come back to you and act like, oh, this remedy didn't work or that herb didn't work. But they forgot to tell you the other things that they're doing or not doing that contribute to the herb not working. So that can be frustrating. And then lastly, people that are just looking for a quick fix. I think that that's frustrating as well, because I'm the type of person, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I want to educate you as much as possible about the information so that you can make an informed decision. And I realize that after I've given you all that information, you're like, I just want a quick fix. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to change my diet. I don't want to change, I don't want to exercise. I don't want to rest. I don't want to give up my drugs. I don't want to give up my alcohol. I just want, you to fix this particular issue right here. And that's it. And that's just not how that works in herbal medicine. It really doesn't. But that's also how people, get scammed, because they have the miracle drug, or you can eat 500 million calories a day and all you got to do is take this one herb and you'll lose, 10 pounds an hour. This is how people get scammed. So it's frustrating as well. Because also you have people in herbal medicine that don't have the best intentions, and people get burned by these people and then they think you're just like them. So, people just not doing right. People not acting right. It's several things I think that frustrates me, that at the end of the day, it's just selfishness, the selfishness of people, and the laziness of people. If I could just sum all that into 2 points. Next question. What are some common mistakes beginners make when starting with herbal formulations, and how can they avoid them? Let's see. Number one, not identifying correctly the root of the problem. So they may only focus on the symptoms without addressing the actual root cause. So I would say ask why the symptom exists. Okay. Write down the information. What is the body saying when the symptom is here? Okay. If you have an overproduction of mucus, don't just focus on that. Why is the body producing so much mucus? And that's how you identify the root of the problem. Number two, and I think that kind of goes into number one, is really focusing only on the symptoms. So a lot of people make the mistake of just suppressing the symptoms instead of trying to restore balance. So what you want to do is pair symptom relief with system supporting herbs. Okay. So again, pair symptom relief herbs with symptom supporting ones. All right. Number three, and this is a huge one, ignoring anatomy and physiology. So overlooking how herbs actually interact with our body system. So what you want to do is study the basics of anatomy and then match herbs to the system that they support. They also call it herb affinity. Number four, using one size fits all remedies. Okay. Assuming that one formula works for everyone, and that's not true. You have to look at the age, the body constitution. You have to look at the health condition. So you also want to learn herbal energetics. Number five, overloading too many herbs. And I made this mistake in my beginnings. You're like, there's inflammation here, so you need anti-inflammatory. So let me get 20 herbs that are anti-inflammatory. That way I can just boost the effects, right? No. You want to keep it simple, 2 to 4 herbs. Assign clear roles, which one is the chief, which one is the deputy, which one is the assistant, and which one is the envoy. I like this particular way to do it because it gives me a clear system. I'm a systems girl, and it helps me to understand what the role is doing. And we'll talk more about that in future podcasts. Number 6, another mistake is choosing the wrong delivery method. So using teas when tinctures or salves would be more effective. So you want to match the delivery method to the issue. Number 7, ignoring herb-drug interactions. So either you ain't looking them up at all or you're overlooking the potential adverse reactions. So you want to research the herb-drug compatibility. Number 8, neglecting the dose. So you're either overdosing or underdosing. So you want to start small, follow dosage guidelines, adjust carefully. The other thing is forgetting bioavailability. So poor absorption of active compounds. So you want to use synergist, things that kind of help boost the properties in the herb. So for example, I'm sure a common one is like turmeric, right? If you use turmeric with black pepper, that kind of helps boost the effectiveness of the turmeric. And then of course use appropriate solvents. The other thing is overlooking taste. Okay. Now, my grandpa, like I said before, when he used to give us stuff, we would drink it. It's absolutely disgusting. He didn't care, what we thought. It wasn't for us to taste. It was for our body. But as adults, if it's too unpleasant, people aren't going to they're not going to want to comply with it. So if you have them choke down 8 ounces of the most bitter tea that's out there without balancing it with flavors like honey or mint or something like that, they're not going to comply with it. They're like, I tried, but I just can't. And then making sure, another mistake is skipping documentation. So not recording the formulas or the results. You want to keep detailed formulation information. You want to keep a journal. And you can find those on my website at thedemystifiedherbalist.square.site if you need one. And lastly, expecting instant results. So, let's say you get a little bit better and you abandon the remedy too soon. So you don't want to do that. You want to educate users on realistic timelines for acute versus chronic conditions. That's very, very important. So start simple, document everything, prioritize safety and consistency, as well as personalization. Like I always say, herbal medicine is a journey, and you learn with each formula as you go along. So that was my last question. Thank you all who submitted questions to me. I had fun reading them. So now we're going to talk about a little bit quickly what's going to happen in 2025. Let's look ahead for 2025. My plan for this podcast is to really talk about the common issues and questions that herbalists may have. I want this podcast to be a place of not only information, but encouragement for herbalists along their journey. Our path is truly a unique one that is met with many hills and challenges, and we are often not embraced as we should be here in the United States. Now, I can't speak for other herbalists in other countries where, herbal medicine might be more embraced or even championed. I know here in the United States, we face challenges as well as make many sacrifices to keep herbal medicine alive and going. So on this podcast, I want to highlight the good as well as the challenging aspects of herbal medicine and dive in a little bit deeper. So I plan in 2025 to also bring on some special guests to talk about their own unique herbal medicine journey, as well as specialists in various fields of health and mental health to provide more of a well-rounded perspective. I feel like you guys have heard me enough, but you'll continue to hear me. Don't worry about that. But I also want to make sure that I share my platform with people that are just as inspiring, just as knowledgeable, if not way more. You should always surround yourself with people smarter than you. So I definitely want to make sure I give you guys a well-rounded perspective in all of the medicines. So I'm excited to see all that is ahead. Now, because I am an herbal educator, my plan is to offer more teachings and instructional videos on my YouTube channel. And this will take a little bit of time. So I'm going to drop down the podcast from 2 times a week to once a week on Thursdays at 9 p.m., starting at the top of the new year. So it's going to be busy, but blessed, a year of growth. Are you guys ready? Once again, thank you to all my listeners, all my subscribers, supporters, family, friends, for making these last 100 episodes so rewarding. Stay tuned. Enjoy what lies ahead. Have a blessed new year, and I will talk to you all next year.